And as a kid, I just loved it and it was sweet. But now as an adult, when I read it about my child, it almost brings me to tears every time I read it.
It's so beautiful.
It's and so emotional.
Yes.
Hello, Eepers. Welcome to another episode of Extra English Podcast with Misha
and Larissa. We're two Canadian English teachers talking about life in Canada, our lives, and anything else that might interest us. And hopefully will interest you too.
So join us for another conversation. Today we're going to talk about books, children's books specifically, books we liked as children or young adults, and books we read to our kids.
Yeah. So to get started, did you have a favorite book as a child, Misha?
I loved to read as a kid, so I'm sure there were many, but one I really remember, and partly because I read it now to my son, is I Love You Forever.
By Robert Munsch.
Classic.
Yes.
It's a Canadian author.
Yeah. I bet you could even quote it.
I think I could, but let me tell you now, it's a really sweet story about a mother who holds her son and rocks him in his sleep as he grows up. And then when she's older, he rocks her. It's so beautiful.
I know, it is really adorable.
And as a kid, I just loved it and it was sweet. But now as an adult, when I read it about my child, it almost brings me to tears every time I read it.
It's so beautiful.
It's and so emotional.
Yes.
Like thinking of aging and yeah, it's really good.
So you should check it out if you haven't. And it stays with you. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as you're with me, my baby you'll be, right?
Yeah. As long as I'm living.
As long as I'm living,
yeah,
my baby you'll be. Yeah.
So sweet.
That's good.
Yeah.
I did read that one as a child too, but I don't think we had it, so I didn't read it on repeat.
Yeah.
But a book that we read a lot at my house was called There's a Monster at the End of This Book.
I don't think I know that one.
It was a Sesame Street book, the television program Sesame Street, and Grover, who is the blue monster, was the main character. And all the way through, he was saying, "Don't turn the page. Didn't you see the title? It says there's a monster at the end of this book. I'm scared. Why are you turning pages? Don't do it." And at the end, it's him.
He's the monster?
Yes.
That's cute.
It was fun. It was funny. I liked the graphics. I liked the way my parents would pretend to, not want to. Should we turn the page? Should we not?
Yeah,
it was exciting.
That's a really creative idea. Fun.
Yeah.
Larissa, have you read that book with your kids?
Well, we don't have the paper copy, but maybe I have found it recently. Anyway, for a long time, we read it on the iPad.
Cute.
Yes, because it's a great story.
Yeah.
But I feel like these days there are so many more picture books.
Yeah.
As an adult, I love reading picture books. I love to go to the children's section of the library and pick out a few. And sometimes my daughter, who is 12, will let me read them to her, but often she won't. So I'll just read them for myself because I love them.
You should come over here.
I should read to your son.
Yes, read to my son. He'd love that.
I should. Do you read a lot of books?
We read a lot of books. A lot of them we read over and over. You know how it goes with little kids. So the top ones right now, one is about a bear who lives in the garden of his friend Clementine's house.
Okay.
And he goes for a walk to the library and everyone runs away. And all the library's closed and he can't figure it out, but it's because he's scary.
Oh.
It's cute. It has a happy ending.
Is Clementine a human?
Clementine's a little human, so her and her mother really like George the bear. And in fact, you gave us a large stuffed bear.
Yes.
That we call George after the George in the book. So this one we've been reading that one every night for a year.
Okay.
Maybe not every night, a few times a week at least.
Yeah.
And then his other favorite right now is called Post Mouse, and it's about a mouse who delivers the mail to the other animals. It's very cute.
Isn't it amazing how animals can do anything in a book?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're animals, like the bear.
Yeah.
He's friends with the humans, but the humans are also scared of him.
Yeah.
And as children, it just all makes sense. We just accept it all.
You just roll.
In fiction, we accept everything.
Yeah, it's true. Well, plus I find these days, like your monster at the end of the book, there's a lot of kind of interactive.
Yeah.
So we have another one about a cloud that changes shape and does all these things. And you have to give the cloud a high five and give him a hug. My son hugs the book and shake it at one. It's really fun. Yeah. Which I feel like there weren't as many of those when we were kids.
I think that came out of research in literacy. Probably. And the idea of interacting with the story is good for building literacy.
Yeah.
And so instead of just expecting the parents to intuit that, they've put it right into the books.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of how kids read, I've been listening to this really interesting podcast lately about how in Canadian, and I think it's American actually, but we use a similar method here, how reading is taught in schools and how the method is largely based off of one woman's research.
Okay.
And actually her research since the time that she did it has been proven wrong.
Wow.
Many times over.
Okay.
It's really interesting. So the method that many schools use is actually not the most successful or effective method.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do they recommend on this podcast?
They recommend like phonics.
Phonics,
yeah. Or, I mean, similar to how we teach adults, which is what are the letters, what sounds do they make? And sounding it out as a, in contrast to, I think when we were young, at least when I was, there was a lot of focus on sight words, right? Which is learning to recognize what a word looks like, the whole thing. Yeah. Which earlier on is more effective.
Yeah.
But in the long term, it doesn't help you if you come across a new word.
Yeah.
So being able to sound
there
it
are
out.
Many words that don't follow the patterns and they need to be learned as sight words.
Yes, but then I think you can still attempt it, right? And you start to learn T and H together make this sound.
Yeah.
G and H sometimes make this sound.
Yeah. So you try it using your rules, your phonetic rules. And if it's not right, then you learn, this is an exception.
Exactly.
Okay.
As opposed to just learning what every word looks like.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I have a friend who teaches kindergarten. And she's been teaching for a long time. And often in education, they decide we're going to do it this way now. And then they say we're going to do it this way. We call it the pendulum swings, methodology changes. But she said secretly she always taught phonics.
I love that. And she was right.
Yeah, because she could tell from the way her students learned that that's the way. That's the way to learn to read.
I mean, I would never think to teach an adult learner sight words. Of course you would do. Phonics, we don't call it that for adults, or at least that's not what it's called in our field, but it's the similar concept.
It gets tricky with adults though, because phonics works when you already know a lot of words in a language. Because they often use pictures to match with the letters and the sounds.
True.
So it gets complicated with adult learners, I think.
I suppose.
Or second language learners, at least.
Yeah. I mean, when I've learned alphabets in other languages, we are getting off topic, but we'll get back. You often do, like alphabets usually are learned with a word. Like the first letter in the Hindi alphabet is for mango, which I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to say. Anyway.
I would believe you.
Off topic. I think this is interesting because our most popular YouTube video ever is a video that can be used for phonics.
Yeah, it's true, about the vowel sounds.
Yes. It's by far our most popular video.
Yeah.
And it's about the sounds of the vowels from a phonics type perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people just know. They know what they need and they know where to find it.
That's right.
So speaking of adult learners and going back to books, I like to use picture books in my class with adult learners.
Interesting.
And sometimes when I first started, I felt the need to give a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is a child's resource.
And you're not a child.
You are adults, yes. But there is beauty in this and there is good learning to be had, and I've chosen it for a reason. And the resources I choose are not like, they're not animals.
They're not monster at the end of the book.
They're not. They're not even like we're all scared of you at the library. Like they're set in our world and they're all with people, but the pictures, the illustrations are beautiful and the message is clear. And so I recommend to my students to read picture books, partly because you have the pictures to help you understand what's going on. You have the context clues, but also, especially now, there are so many beautiful stories.
There really are. Yeah. We have one about, it's my favorite book, about how we're all trees.
Oh.
Like, we're people.
We're people, yes.
But the book is saying, like, just making a metaphor of a human like a tree, and the branches in the wind and the roots, and it's so beautiful. And at the end of the book, the little boy says to this woman, "I can see the tree in you." Oh. I could almost cry just thinking about it. It's just this really beautiful, lovely metaphor. I love it so much. And the little boy in the book looks like my son, so he always thinks it's him. It's my favorite.
It is him.
But this, like, for an adult, I would just read that book myself.
For sure.
It's so lovely.
I actually want to read that book. I'm going to read it before I leave here because I'm making a quilt all about trees. Like, I'm in my tree era.
You're a tree.
I am. We are.
We are, exactly. Oh, I'll lend it to you for sure.
Thank you.
So we were talking about stories we liked as little kids. And then growing up a little as a young adult, I loved to read, first of all. It was my favorite activity. I would sit, you could shout my name and I wouldn't hear you. I would get so absorbed in what I was reading. I really liked as a, like, tween or older child, fantasy novels. Like anything with a dragon, magic. I loved that kind of stuff.
Did you like princesses?
I didn't really care so much about prince or
you
princess.
you wanted action.
Yeah. And like fantastical things, you know? There was one author, Anne McCaffrey, she's quite famous, who would write about people and they'd bond with a dragon. You know, like a dragon would choose them. Okay. So, like people having special lives. I liked this.
And did you imagine, like, did you see yourself in the story? Were you one of the characters? Did you identify more with the dragons?
I think I liked, I mean, if I had stumbled across a dragon in real life, I would have hoped it bonded with me. I do think as a kid especially, even as an adult, there is something nice about reading someone who's like special or chosen or different and imagining yourself being that, you know? So for sure, I think that's part of it.
That's a very common theme, the theme of the, like the voyager. What is...
Yeah. The hero.
The hero.
Yeah.
The hero's journey.
Kind of thing. Yeah. What about you when you were a little older, post-picture book era?
So I actually didn't read very much.
Oh, no?
No. I did like the Ramona Quimby series.
Yes, that was very popular when Larissa and I were young.
She's the character. She was a girl probably my age, probably like grade 4 or 5, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so.
And she had little adventures. She was a bit of a character. Yeah. Like, I remember she squeezed out the whole tube of toothpaste one time and got in big trouble.
It's really stuck with you.
I think part of me was like, what would happen if I did that?
Yeah. That was very relatable to your real life.
Exactly. Yeah. So I did read those series, but it wasn't something that I was really passionate about really until I was an adult.
Interesting. Yeah. Like as a teenager, not really.
No.
Oh, wow.
And part of it is I think that I didn't get hooked on a series or a type. Yeah. So I would read for school, of course, and I would read some nonfiction, but that's not exciting. Right? You need to get lost in a good story.
Totally.
And I didn't have that. I think my parents also didn't really read a lot of fiction.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so it wasn't part of our family culture. We had lots of books around, but nobody was sitting around reading a novel.
They were more for learning than entertainment.
Yeah, which is totally valid, right? Read for learning.
Absolutely.
It's a great reason to read.
No one is suggesting you shouldn't do that.
But to develop a love for reading, I really think it needs to be fiction to really capture your imagination.
Yeah, I wonder if everyone agrees or if there are people who feel that fascination with nonfiction.
I wonder.
I don't. I'm like you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
But I guess if you're passionate about a topic.
Yeah, like history or something.
Yeah, that could be. But you could argue history is not fiction, but it's stories.
Yes, we both love a story.
Yeah.
This is why we're here. That's true. There are still stories.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you are someone who loves reading, but not fiction, please share with us. Like, how did you get your start, and what is it about reading that draws you?
Yeah, we're curious.
So I have a question for you. you said you always had your nose in a book.
Always.
Couldn't distract you.
No.
Did you have a special place you read?
No, anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah. The beach, other people's houses, the table, the couch, my bed until 2 a.m, anywhere.
Other people's, like, you would go to someone's house and they'd be like, hey, where's Misha?
Yes. If I went anywhere, I had a book.
Okay.
Yeah, we would go. I remember one night we went to a friend's house for dinner. Friends we saw often, so they were like family. Mm-hmm. And I was reading, and the multiple of them were shouting my name, and I didn't hear because my book was so good. Yeah, everywhere, anywhere. Not in the car, because that makes me a little
nauseous.
Yeah, but everywhere else. Yeah.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite spot, though? Like, you could read anywhere, but did you have a favorite spot? A place where in your mind you still associate with a book? Or just life was associated with a book?
Yeah. Honestly, it was really my favorite activity.
Okay.
I mean, probably I spent the most hours reading in bed at night.
Sure.
Yeah, but no. You know, though, when you mention history, that makes me think of a memorable series I read when I was young, which was historical. Prehistoric, I guess.
Prehistoric history.
It was kind of a fictionalized imagining of Homo sapien life.
Okay.
So like life way back.
Yeah.
And it was recommended to me by the librarians because all the librarians knew me at the local library. So I was looking for, and they'd see me come, I'd find a new author and I'd read all their books. And then I'd find another one and I'd read all their books. So one librarian recommended this series to me. And I think it was, I should look it up, at least 3 or 4 books. And they're all like 1,000 pages. Wow. So I think part of her motivation was probably this will hold her over for a while.
Yeah, but it probably didn't.
I mean, they were very good. The stories were it was such an emotional, I remember sobbing at this one particular part. Yes, it was such a good series, very popular. It's called Clan of the Cave Bear. But I was about 11 or 12 at this point, and they were adult books written for adults.
Okay.
And they had some very adult scenes.
Uh-huh.
Which I was shocked to come upon as a child and not interested in. I would just skip over them while blushing or whatever. Yeah. But then I remember bringing it back, the first one, to the librarian, asking for the second and thinking, she knows. What's in here? Does she think I've read that? Like feeling this like awkward kidness around that kind of stuff.
But she must have thought you could handle it if she recommended that series to you.
Yes. And it wasn't the majority of the story. It was small parts that I just wasn't interested in. So, bam. Yeah. And the stories were just so good. Yeah.
So do you still love a fantasy book or what's your preferred?
I think now I like Our World, like this series was, but a little bit different. So, for example, there's another Canadian series called the Trickster series, written by an Indigenous author. That's Our World, but plus some like mystical, magical sort of elements to it.
Okay.
So I like this, like not a totally different universe.
Yeah.
Our World, but plus a little extra layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. What about you?
I am more interested in the characters than the story. I mean, I do like a plot.
Who doesn't?
But, so for example, I've never wanted to watch the Star Trek series. Why? Because they're like doing things in space. I don't care what they're doing.
Listen,
they're not really growing as people.
No, you're wrong.
Oh.
The character development in that series is very good.
Okay.
I wouldn't have chosen to watch a lot of that, but my brother loved it, and we watched the TV that he said we were going to watch. So watched a lot of that. But I hear you. It's not your...
Well, maybe I didn't watch enough to get to know the characters
and TV is different than books.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a story that if I don't love or care about the characters, I'm not going to finish the book.
You want the people and their character development to be the main plot.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get it. Yeah. It's nice to care about. It's nice to get so involved in a story that you feel invested in the characters.
And so to bring us back to children's books, it could be a bear or a mouse.
Listen, I love George the Bear. Post Mouse, he's doing good work. Speaking of characters, again, talking about modern children's books and ways they're different from what we had, and also the same. But my son has a book that has his name in it that a friend of ours gifted us that she ordered online, where you can like put in name and she chose the appearance of the little character.
Yes.
So it's a book about him. That's so fun.
Is it a finding book?
It is a finding book.
Okay, so we have the same. My kids have the same book.
Cool.
I think there was a time when they were really advertising, and it's a great gift.
Oh, so we love it.
So there is a story to
Yes.
it. Like every page, I think mine is time travel. So you're in different time periods, but it's a search and find book. And you're looking for, like yourself.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fun.
Very cool. And I think this was never possible until we had like self-publishing and really easy access to printing. And
that's right. Things have changed. Plus, for me, and I'm sure it was the same for you, I was never going to stumble across a book with Misha.
No.
Not an English-speaking book in Canada about a character named Misha. My name is not very common. No. Larissa's name is also.
No, I haven't seen a Larissa as a main character.
And same for my son. His name here is unusual.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to like have something that has his name. Yeah. Super fun.
Yeah, I really love that.
I'm sure there are many more books we could talk about. You and I both like to read. But we'll stop there for this episode and maybe pick this conversation up another time.
Yeah. But if you have a favorite, especially a children's book that you would love to share, we'll read it.
Let us know.
Thanks for joining us for another episode.
Find us on Facebook or Instagram to join the conversation.
And if you like what you heard, consider leaving a review.
We'd love to hear from you.